What's going on, Gifted Hands family? It is Elijah Muse here bringing you another lesson, and today we are going to be talking about C major theory and harmony. People have been asking for this lesson for a while, and we're just going to kind of take our time and go through C major and talk about like just the essential things that you need to know to be able to play in C major. And if you already know how to play in C major, but you want something extra, you want to add some color notes and some color chords to C major. We're going to talk about all that here. So let's jump into it today. All right, so C major, the first thing that we're going to talk about when we're talking about getting comfortable and playing in C major, first thing you need to know is your scale, right? Bare minimum. So C major scale, all white notes. We should all know this already. This is probably the first scale that you learned on the piano. 7 notes. That's our C major scale. Okay, so after you learn your scale, then from there we want to go and learn some essential chord progressions in C major, right? So 2 essential chord progressions that every musician, no matter what genre you play, should know is going to be your diatonic chords. Diatonic chords just mean the chords that belong to the key of C major. So there's 7 diatonic chords in C major. That's the 1, the 2, the 3 chord, the 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord are major. The 1 and the 4 are major 7ths if we're talking about extended chords. The 5 chord is a dominant. Then we have our 2 chord, our 3 chord, and our 6 chord that are minor. Then our 7 chord is all by itself and it's half diminished. Diminished if we're talking about a triad, half diminished if we add that 7th. All right, so these are the essential chords. You should be able to do that. You should be able to go all the way up the piano, all the way down the piano, and just be comfortable playing any of the 1 through the 7 chords that belong to C major. All right. So after you get that, then there's another essential progression that you should know to be able to play in C major, and that's going to be the cycle of fifths progression. I've talked about this in other videos. I'll probably link the videos, but that is just simply, we can start on the 2. And this is just a circular movement based off of fifths. So we go from the 2, then we're going to go down a 5th to the 5. Then we're going to go down a 5th to the 1. Then we're going to go down another 5th to the 4. Then we're going to go down an augmented 5th to the 7. Then we're going to go down another 5th to the 3. Then from the 3, we'll go down another 5th to the A, which is the 6. And then if we go down another 5th, we go back to the 2. And then we just repeat that cycle over and over again. So that gives us 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. Okay? So you just want to learn that. I got a little fancy at the end, but you just want to learn that in basic 7 voicings. 2, 5, 1, 4, 7. That 3 chord is what we're playing as a dominant, right? So we're even adding in a note that doesn't belong necessarily to C major. But by playing a dominant chord here, it helps us resolve to the 6. Okay? So learn that progression. You want to get comfortable with that cycle of fifths progression in C major. After you get there, now we can, when it comes to playing songs in C major, we kind of have a base of knowledge to know, all right, these are all the chords that are really, that belong to C major. And then since I have the base there, then I can start to branch out and figure out some other chords that don't necessarily belong to C major, but sound good in C major, right? So let's take a song, for example. Let's do I Surrender All, okay? So, I Surrender All goes like this. I surrender all to Jesus. I don't know the words. I'm not even going to fake like I do it. And then I surrender all. surrender all. All to Jesus I surrender. I surrender all. All right, so that's the song, and now I played it a little bit more full than probably than I should have. But what I want you to take is the fact that I played that in C major, right? But there was a bunch of black notes. So let's take this song in its basic form and then figure out how can we add these chords, because we're in C major, but there's a bunch of notes in here that don't belong to C major. So how do we do that? How do we take this basic song in this simple key and add all this extra stuff to it, this fluff, right? So if we're gonna start at the top, all to Jesus. So I'm gonna start on the 1, right? Da, 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 da. And then I'm gonna go to the 5/1. I surrender. Yeah, so we'll do all to Jesus I 5/1. I surrender. And I just walk it down 5/7. All 6. 2. I like going to the 2. 2, 4, 4/6, 5/7 to the 1. Okay, so that's all C major, right? 5/1, 5/7. So even before we go into anything outside of the key of C, let's figure out how can we take chords that are in the key of C major and just make them sound different. We just used an example right here in this song that some of you may not be using yet, which is like simply inverting chords. This is the 5 chord. All I'm doing is putting the 7 in the bass though. So I'm not playing 5/5. I'm doing 5/7. Right? All to Jesus I surrender. All 6. And then I can do 1/5. So 1/5. I'm just adding movement to my playing, but I'm staying in my key. But what are we doing? We're just taking this basic C major chord, the 1 chord, right? The first chord that probably everybody learns on the piano, and I'm inverting it. So this is the first inversion, second inversion. I'm inverting it and I'm putting G in the bass, and it just adds movement to my playing. And then even this chord. This is my 4 chord, right? What did I do though? I added the 9th to my 4 chord, adding extra notes. We're still in C major though. So I play 4/6, right? 4/6. I took the 3rd of my 4 chord, the A, and I put it in the bass. This is like a drop 2 voicing. Then I'm gonna do the same thing with the G, my 5 chord. I add the 9th, take the 3rd, put it in the bass. So that gives me this nice walk up. 4/6, 5/7, 1. All right, so let's try that again. Well, even there. 5. This is a 5 chord. 5 sus, 5 dominant. Sus, dominant to the 1. All to Jesus. So we can do 1, 2/1. 7, and then now I can throw in the E dominant. We're adding chords that are outside of the key. Why did I do that? We can start adding passing chords. So if I know the regular chord progression, all to Jesus I surrender all. If we're going to the 6, I can add a passing chord to take me to the 6, which is A minor. So what is that passing chord going to be? It's going to be a chord that's a 5th away from the chord I want to go to. And this is where that cycle of 5ths chord progression comes into play. If you know that progression, then you already know, well, in that progression, what took me to the 6? The 3. The The 3 takes me to the 6. All right. How is that? A is my target chord. E is a fifth away from A. So I'm going to play E dominant. That's going to take me to 6. And that's our first taste in really leaving the key. 6, 1 over 5, 2, 4, 4 over 6, 5 over 7. Okay, let's try that a different way. Okay, what was that? So 1, 2. Instead of doing 2 over 1, I'm gonna do this chord right here, which is now we're once again taking notes that are not in the key of C major, but we have our melody line. So if I'm playing in C major, but I want to add some notes that aren't in C major, as long as I keep my melody line consistent, as long as the melody line stays the same, I can add in other notes. I can add in color tones. So this is a F minor chord, a type of F minor chord. And I'm playing the 1 in the bass. All to Jesus. 1, right? 5 over 7. I surrender all. So what's that? So we did our minor 4 chord to the 1. 5 over 7. And then let's just do this. We'll do this. All that is an E dominant chord. I'm just voicing it a little different. I put the 3rd in the bass instead of my E dominant. And I added this F in there. Jesus, I 6. Surrender. All right, so that's our verse. That's kind of some ways that we can add notes that are not in the key of C major to that to the verse. So and then let's go to the chorus real quick. We got I surrender all. I surrender all. All right, so we can do a bunch of stuff in this chorus, right? We can go ham, but before we do that, let's just understand the basics. So I surrender all. That's the basic chord progression. 1, I surrender 2, and then we go to the 5. I surrender all. So let's just take that much right there. Let's figure out those chords, 1, 2, 5, and 4, right? Those are the basic chords. How do we add something to it since we're in C major? I surrender all. We can add in a passing chord. The rule of fifths, kind of our rule of secondary dimes, just says any chord that we want to go to, we can take a chord that's a fifth away. So if our second chord is the 2, we can take a chord that's a fifth away. A is a fifth away from D. The 6 is a fifth away from the 2, right? So I can play some type of A chord. Since we're sticking in A, or since we're sticking in the key of C major, we'll keep it simple. We'll play A minor. I surrender 6, 2. All right. And then we go to the 5 chord, right? We're going to the 5. But maybe I want a different sound. So let's just invert the chords. Let's take the chords that we already have and kind of mess around with them. Let's mess around with the order of the notes. So all I'm going to do here is, I got a 5 chord, G. I'm just not going to play the G in the bass. I understand theory, right? If you understand theory, we know that a G chord is these 3 notes. So I could take any of these 3 notes and put them in the bass. So I could put this note, the B is in the chord, so I can put the B in the bass. Or I could put the D in the bass. So what does that sound like? I surrender 6, 2. I can do that. That sounds good, right? And it's something different than you may be used to playing. All right, so we tried it that way. Let's try it a different way now, okay? Let's see. I surrender all to. I, still in C major. Surrender all. So we do something like that, right? We're just taking the chords that we already have and we're messing around with the inversions, we're messing around with the order of notes. That's where you can start to kind of embellish your playing in C major, to take the chords that you already know and just make something more out of them. Now let's add in maybe some passing chords that don't necessarily belong to C major. Let's do I surrender. Well, let's just keep it simple. All. Same chord, right? We took an A chord. We were playing A minor first. Now we're just going to play A dominant instead. Do something a little different. I surrender 6 to. Right? So what was that? We were going to the 5, right? I surrender all to. Then we're going to the 5. I surrender all. So if we're going to the 5, then I can play a chord that's a fifth away from my 5, fifth away from G. What's a fifth away from G? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. All right, so D. I can play D dominant, which is the 2 chord as a dominant. And that, even though it doesn't belong to the key of C major, these rules of passing chords and just like the harmony and the techniques behind passing chords and how we can apply passing chords to a chord or a progression allows us to kind of temporarily leave the key that we're in. Okay, so I surrender all. I surrender. This is the same chord. G. This is a G chord. This is still a G chord, just different inversions. Surrender all. And then what do we do? Instead of going to the 1, once again, inverting it. Just putting the 3 in the bass. Remember, C chord has C, E, G. So I can take the E and put that in the bass instead of the C. Surrender all. Now we can do a turnaround. 2, 5, 1. All to Jesus. I surrender. All right, so those are just some quick ways that you can apply chords that belong to the key of C major, and even take some chords that are outside of our key technically, but still work within the context of C major by just applying passing chords. Okay, so let's try another song in the key of C major and look at some theory, C major theory from a different song. Let's try I Need Thee, old school gospel song. I need thee, oh, I need thee. Every hour I need thee. Okay, so what's the basic version of the song? I need 1, thee, oh, 4, I need thee, 5. Then we'll do 2, every hour, 5, I need thee, to the 1. Real simple, right? So what are we gonna do with this? We'll do I need thee, oh. We're just gonna invert stuff. So we're gonna keep the 1 in the bass. We're gonna keep C in the bass. And we're not going to do anything that's outside of the key, but we're just going to kind of change up how we're playing chords. 1, 4 over 1, to the 5 over 1. There's one way we could play it. I need thee, oh. No, 4 over 1. I need thee, 5 over 1. Then we can do every hour. I need thee. We resolve to the 6. So 5 over 7, that same chord we used in I Surrender All. Every hour. And we could even make this dominant. Why? Because we're going to the 6. Remember, E dominant helps us transition to the 6. I need thee. All right. So all together, I need thee, oh, I need thee. Let's do something different. All right, so what was that? I need thee, oh, I need thee. Or we did. Every hour. Something like that. So what are we doing there? Now, technically, really, I'm still just taking chords from C major, kind of changing them up a little bit, and using them as passing chords or a passing progression. So, or what do we do? Every hour, I need thee. That's all I'm doing, really. 2 as a major, though. 3 as a major to the 6. So what we just did was take chords that already are in the key of C major, the 2 chord and the 3 chord, and instead of playing them as minors, I'm really just experimenting now. And I'm gonna turn them from minor into major, really dominant. Okay? So I'm taking that and then I'm using that rule of inversions. So instead of putting the 1 in the bass, I'm gonna put the 3rd in the bass. So this is my 2 chord, pretty much D major. Every hour. Then my 3 chord, major. I'm just inverting it to the 6. I need thee. So that's another way. We can take chords that originally belong to the key and change them. We could change the mode of the chord, or we can change the function of the chord, go from minor to major, or minor to dominant, or whatever, minor to half diminished, whatever it is, to give us a different sound and to give us some notes that are outside of our key. So every hour I need thee. Oh bless. And then I'll give you one more super common gospel movement. Every hour I need thee. And then from there we're going to the 4. Oh bless. So one of the most common movements you'll ever hear in gospel is going to be a 2-5 passing progression, or a 2-5 progression to take you to whatever chord you want to go to. So F is where we're going, right? So we can build a 2-5 progression and take me to F major, which is going to be 1, 2, G, 3, 4, 5, C to F. So G, C, F is a 2-5-1. Right? So the 2 chord is minor. 4 chord, or the 5 chord is dominant. The 1 chord is F. It's major. So you may be thinking, well, I thought we were in C major. We are, but to create progressions outside of our key, we can temporarily look at some of the chords that we want to go to as like our temporary home and build progressions surrounding the chords we want to go to. So in this case, we want to go to F. So I'm going to look at F as my temporary home, temporary 1, and build a 2-5 around that. So, or 2-5 into the F, which is the 4 of C major. So what does that sound like in context? I need thee, oh, I need thee. Every hour, I need thee. Oh, bless. Right? And then me now, my Savior. We could do that, or we could do something a little bit more interesting. We could do, oh bless me now. Passing chord, diminished pass. We're leaving C. But this works, why? Because it's a passing chord. Passing chords don't have to be in the key that we're playing in. So we're going to do F sharp diminished. My save. Back into the key. 1/5. Okay? Oh bless me now. My Savior. Right? Or let's try one more thing. Oh, bless. If you want to get a little churchy, right? You can, instead of playing the F as a major chord, we can make it dominant. Now once again we're leaving C major. This works because once again our melody line is in the chord that we're playing. And in gospel, a lot of chords that belong to a key are substituted for dominant chords, just to give us a more like a tense feel. It sounds more tense. It sounds like it needs to go somewhere. Right? Okay? So that's something else you can do. But I just wanted to give y'all some ideas here on ways that you could take progressions in C major. You could take songs in the key of C major and apply some concepts, apply theory, apply certain techniques to get you outside of the key. Well, actually, even first off, to get you to play chords that belong to the key but just sound different, play chords in a different way. And then second off, to give you some chords that may be outside of the key and to get comfortable with not having to be confined to the key that you're playing in. So even though we're playing in C major with all white notes, I can play some black notes. As long as I understand the theory behind it, as long as I understand where I'm going and how I can get to where I'm going, then you can do whatever the heck you want to on the piano, right? So that's all I have for today. If y'all want me to go deeper into this C major topic and how we can kind of change up the chords in C major or throw in different chords that don't belong to C major, let me know in the comments below. Drop a comment. Let me know what you want to see next. Let me know what you want to hear next, what songs you want to see broken down. I need some feedback from y'all so I know what to do, know where to go next. All right? But until next time, y'all stay safe. Keep practicing, keep growing, keep getting better at your craft. And I will see you very, very soon. Have a blessed day.